Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking advantage of this particular session of our Ohio Association of College Admission Counselor virtual college exploration session. Please know that you are able to ask questions of the two people who are joining you today. You have Bryce Gray and Kendra Dewberry, who are with the University of Cincinnati, and you can post questions for them by pushing your Q&A button. And you just type your question and they will be able to respond. Please know that your camera and your microphone are off. And also know that if for any reason you get through this session today and there have been so many things that you've talked about that you can't remember everything, or you want to share this information with your friends and family, this has been recorded for you. And not only can you find that on our website, but you can always sign up for more sessions to learn more about other colleges and other topics as you pursue your journey into higher education. So www.oacac is our website for the college admission counselors. And welcome, Kendra and Bryce.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Great to get to talk to you today. My name's Kendra Dewberry. I'm one of the assistant directors in the Office of Admission at the University of Cincinnati. This year will be 7 years at UC, so really excited to continue to have this opportunity. And it's always been really great to interact with our current students as well as our prospective students. And speaking of current students, I'm going to have Bryce introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself, and then we'll talk about how this will run.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bryce Gray. I'm a fourth year studying organizational leadership and human resources, along with a business administration minor here at the University of Cincinnati. I'm originally from the Indianapolis area, so just a short 2 hours drive away. Let's see, some of the things that I'm involved with on campus. I'm a member of the cheer team. I swam club swim for my first couple of years here. I'm a student tour guide, as well as I have a work study position here in the admissions office as well.
Thanks, Bryce. You all will see that I'm a little bit biased, but one, I think Bryce is amazing, but I also think all of our students at the University of Cincinnati are wonderful. They do amazing things day in and day out and are working to positively change the world. So I have a few things I want to talk about with you all, and then we're going to turn this over to a Q&A session. We have a lot of different opportunities for you to get engaged, and I'll talk about those and get involved, but we want to make sure that you get the opportunity to engage with one of our current students, as well as ask any questions that are on your mind right now. So we will go over these slides. It'll take maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. I do have a reminder set for 5 minutes before our session ends so that we can wrap it up and get all the questions answered and then connect you with other people. But in the meantime, I'm going to share my slides or share my screen with you all for the information. I think it's really important that you get really quickly. And then I'll stop sharing my screen. We'll come back and have a Q&A. So make sure you ask any questions that you have. We'll go through and answer those one by one. But as far as who the University of Cincinnati is, you'll hear a lot about Next Lives Here in the information we send to you. If you get the opportunity to come to campus, that's our strategic direction. Our president, Dr. Neville Pinto, is really innovative, really aspirational about how he thinks the University of Cincinnati can change the world. And so you'll hear a lot about innovation and what we're doing going forward. The University of Cincinnati celebrated 200 years during the last academic year. A lot of history, a lot of tradition, but a lot of creating new and creating information about what will happen next. So innovation is something you'll hear about a lot. We have an 1819 Innovation Hub on campus and some other opportunities coming soon, but it's a really great way for our students to get to interact with each other as well as their faculty and staff and create new knowledge. As far as academic programs, different academic pathways, UC at a glance, we have 3 campuses. Most people are familiar with the Uptown campus, also known as Main Campus, but we also have a campus in Blue Ash, Ohio, and one in Claremont County. So together we serve the southwestern region of the state. Our total enrollment as of about a week and a half ago, we're setting records yet again. We're really grateful for another large enrollment. It's 46,798 students across all of our campuses, as well as undergraduate, graduate, and professional school students. So as far as Uptown campus and our undergrad students, we have just under 27,000 of them. We are the second largest school in the state of Ohio. Tons of opportunities that come along with being a large, public, diverse, metropolitan research university, but absolutely a sense of community that's available to you as well. We have over 300, over 350 majors, and those are going to be in the umbrella of our 13 academic colleges. So that'll be like our College of Arts and Sciences, the Lindner College of Business, DAP, which is Design, Architecture, Art, and Planning. Tons of opportunities, and if students are undecided, no problem. We have a great Center for Exploratory Studies for you to find what's going to be the best path for you academically. And I mentioned that we're a large school, but we work really hard still to make sure that you have those interactions with your peers inside the classroom, as well as your faculty members, so we have a 17-to-1 student to faculty ratio. As far as some other really important things, the Bearcat Promise you will hear a lot about. This is a relationship, this is a two-way street in our promise to our students that you will be able to have a hand in what your path looks like. We want you to come out at the end of the day after you come in as an incoming freshman, you learn about yourself and your subject area and grow. In one hand, you are going to have a diploma, in the other hand, you are going to have a path for what comes next. And so this is one of those visuals of those different milestones and hallmarks you'll go along. The most important part is you're working proactively to help create this along with your academic advisor and other faculty members who are mentoring you along the way. One thing people know a lot about the University of Cincinnati for is co-op, and that's historically been housed in our College of Engineering and Applied Science, our programs in DAP, our students who are information technology majors, but the university is looking to expand that. Experiential learning is a hallmark of UC's education, and all of our students have had access to that, whether internships, co-ops, as mentioned, as well as opportunities for student teaching, and it's all dependent upon your major, of course, but Co-op 2.0 is going to be flexible and really make sure that all of our students have a choice to participate in this, and flexibility has become more and more important this year, as I'm sure you all are experiencing. A few other really important things before we talk about the application process. There's tons to do on campus. We have over 500 student organizations. We are a Division I school as far as athletics, so wonderful opportunities there. And if you have questions, of course, you can ask Bryce about that in a little bit. But as far as living on campus, we have 4 dining halls, 11 residence halls, tons of opportunities for you to engage and be active on campus. If you live within a 50-mile radius of Cincinnati, you have the option to live at home and commute, or you can live on campus. For our students who are more than 50 miles away from home, you will be required to live on campus during your first year. But for our seniors, one of the pressing questions is, what's this application process about? What's going on? So a few things that are important. We're on the Common App, and you have the ability to indicate up to 3 majors. You're going to want to list those in rank order, as you can see on the screen. That means whatever you list first, we will look at first. And if we can admit you directly to that program, we will then not look at the other programs. We will admit you to that and keep going. So whatever is your first choice, whatever you're most interested in, please put that first. Another really important part of your application materials is going to be your personal statement. It helps us assess fit and have a better understanding of what you're interested in and why. The question is, why did you apply to each of the academic programs listed on your application? Again, that allows you to talk about being undecided and maybe what you're interested in or what you hope to learn about yourself through the process. But again, this gives us a little bit more insight into who you are as we're going through things. As far as your senior year timeline, things that are really important. December 1 is our early action deadline. It's the deadline for consideration for our university honors program, the academic colleges you will see listed on the screen, as well as scholarships. That's a complete application, so not just the Common App and your application fee, but it's also going to be your official transcripts, letter of recommendation, and then official test scores. If you're submitting those, we'll get to that in just a moment. Other important things, October 1st, the FAFSA opens up. We really encourage students to submit that as soon as possible. Again, December 1 for scholarships. In February, we will have our decision day where we release decisions to all students who completed a application by December 1. That February is also the time frame for scholarship announcements. And there are a few other things that you'll see on there. We can talk a little bit more about that later. But a few things I do want to let you know is that we do have a holistic review process. This means we're looking at your application overall. So it's not just GPA or test score. It's not been that way at the University of Cincinnati, at least for the past 7 years and definitely longer than that. But how does all the information you submit come together? So we're looking at, are you prepared academically to be successful on our campus? How did you perform in high school? What does your application tell us about your character and who you are as a person? Are you well-rounded? Are you a leader? Do you give back? And then how will you fit into our campus community? So those are all the things we're going to take into consideration. We are test optional. We're excited about that opportunity for our students coming in for fall 2021 as well as 2022. For students who haven't taken a test, are uncomfortable with their test score, weren't able to retest, they are able to apply test optional. The vast majority of our majors are going to be test optional. There are a few that are exceptions. It'll be required for our University Honors Program. Students who are applying to the College of Nursing Direct Admit BSN program, our students applying to early childhood education, and then our Connections Dual Admission program, which is a dual BSMD program. I want to make sure that we have some information up here about how you can connect with us afterwards. I'll have this up again later on. And then we do have different opportunities for recruiting students and getting involved, how we'll connect with you. We'll have our Bearcats Challenge. We'll have campus visits virtually as far as that information being shared, but this will be the best way to get in touch with us. I'm going to quit sharing my screen for a moment. And then I'm going to open it up for the Q&A. So if you all have questions, you'll want to type the questions in that Q&A box now. I will read the question. If it's directed toward me, I'll answer the question. I'm guessing the vast majority of them are going to be directed toward Bryce. So I'll make sure that he gets the opportunity to ask those. So this is the time for you all to get your questions answered and hear about our current students' experiences and hear what the life of a Bearcat is. So first question is, how's your pre-med and surgery program? I will take the lead on this and then I'll let Bryce fill in any additional information. But as far as pre-med is going to be a track. It's not a specific major. You could technically have any major at the University of Cincinnati and be on a pre-med track, work with our pre-professional advising office to make sure that you're prepared with things like observation and volunteer hours, being prepared to take the MCAT later on and fill out those applications. So there are tons of resources. There are some programs that students typically gravitate towards to go the pre-med route, like biological sciences, things like that. We have a medical sciences program, but there's not a specific requirement for the pre-med major. So hopefully that answered your question. The next question is, what are some of your student traditions? So I'm going to pass that one to Bryce to talk about campus traditions.
So we have several different campus traditions. Some of the big ones that pop into my mind, first of all, being homecoming, because that season is coming up here as we just kicked off the football season. Homecoming is a pretty big deal here around campus, and we have a large parade that runs around the block around campus. There's all different sorts of activities leading up to homecoming week, including a carnival hosted on campus, a big on-campus concert that's free for students. So homecomings are definitely a big one. Another campus or student tradition that I can think of that I've participated in would be the different traditions surrounding the football and basketball and just all athletic events. So a really cool thing about UC Athletics is students get free admission into the games. That is when there are the opportunity for people to be in the stands. But a big one would be the Battle for the Bell, which is against Miami of Ohio. That's a really fun game. It happens at Paul Brown Stadium every third year, which is pretty neat. Going to the student basketball games, it's just a really fun atmosphere for sure. And all of our athletic facilities are on campus as well. So it's pretty neat to have that close, tight-knit feel, and it really does get a lot of students out to the games.
Thanks, Bryce. So our next question is, if someone did not have the grades they wanted junior year, is that going to affect your acceptance? So the answer is potentially. When we have a holistic review process, and I'm going to pop my PowerPoint back up on the holistic review part and share my screen again. Let's see. And hopefully everyone can see that. If not, let me know. But for that holistic review process, we are looking at everything. So it is your high school transcript in its entirety. So we see your 9th, your 10th, and your 11th grade years when you apply. You'll apply early in your senior year. The common application typically opens up August 1st. And again, our early action deadline to be considered for scholarships, the honors program, and the academic programs that I had up earlier, and I'll go to that screen in a minute. You'll need everything in by December 1st. So when we look at your transcript, it's not just your freshman year, it's not just your junior year either, it's how it all comes together. So your grade trend is one of the things we take into consideration. We look at rigor of curriculum, we look at the grades in the classes, what have you done all together. So it's not to say that it would automatically mean a student would not be offered admission if their grades weren't what they wanted them to be, or if they were a little lower their junior year. There are many times where colleges or universities may ask for additional information. And if you are concerned about your junior year grades, one thing you can do proactively is ask your school counselor to send a report card with your first quarter grades. That gives us some additional consideration. Now that said, most schools do not recalculate your GPA until the semester, and that would be after our December 1 deadline in most cases for high schools, how their calendar is structured. So while we wouldn't see an updated GPA, if you're doing well your senior year, that first quarter, we can see that upward grade trend again. So hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to quit sharing my screen again. And then if you need additional clarification for that, let me know. Next question is, could we go over the deadlines and merit scholarships and the honors program opportunities? Sure. So again, deadline for scholarship consideration, I'm going to get my deadlines page back up. Deadlines for scholarship consideration for the University Honors Program, which is an umbrella program for all of our students. It's experience-based. It's not going to be additional classroom requirements. There are a few seminars that you have to do, but it's really about experiences. Students will have 5 experiences that they have to complete prior to graduation with the help of an honors advisor. And it really allows you to merge your academic area of interest and your passion together. So it might be things that go together really well. It may be some things that are out of the box. We have a young woman who it was in our College of Engineering and Applied Science who decided one of her honors experiences was going to be teaching English to Tibetan monks. Think outside the box. Think about the things you love to do and are trying to figure out how you can get it all in and within your experience. So there are tons of opportunities that way. Let me share my screen again. And can everyone, Bryce, can you see that? Perfect. So deadlines, again, December 1 is the early action deadline. As I mentioned, it's for consideration for the honors program, the College of Business, CCM, DAP, engineering, nursing, medicine, and then for CCM students, musical theater, they recommend that you have everything in by November 1. December 1 is that deadline for scholarship consideration. So complete application in by December 1. As far as how that all happens, again, that holistic review that we have for admission also takes place within scholarships. We share the same information, same thing for the honors program. So they're going to be looking at the materials you use for your application to make decisions on scholarships and the honors program, just as we used it for the admissions process. So hopefully that answered that question. If you need additional clarification, post another question for me. I have another student who says they have a question about crime rates. So I'm going to quit sharing my screen so I can get a couple of things together. I'm going to answer this, and then I'll have Bryce talk about his student experience, and then I'll show you a webpage you can look at. But the University of Cincinnati is in an urban area. We are not right downtown. We're about 1.5 miles from the downtown core. So you have a very blended experience, best of both worlds, as I see it, where you are a stone's throw from downtown and all of the activity and great things that are there, but there's absolutely a centralized campus experience. You know when you're on campus versus off campus. A lot of people are really surprised that it's sort of like somebody literally plopped a traditional college campus with tons of green space, athletic facilities in the middle of a city. And so I think it's wonderful that way. We are in an urban area, and no area is perfect. Every area has their issues, whether it's crime or other things that are happening. So we don't promise to be perfect. We don't promise to be a utopia, but what we do is make sure that we are making a concerted effort to make sure our spaces are safe, that our students are educated about what safe choices there are. So every residence hall is going to be locked 24 hours a day. You will have access to it as a student. Your friends in a more traditional year would have access to it to have visitors and guests, but due to COVID-19, there's a strict limitation of that, so that we are doing our part to make sure we limit the spread of it. But students have historically been allowed to have visitors. There's a police department that's specifically for on campus. They patrol campus as well as a border off campus, but they work really closely with the City of Cincinnati Police. There are tons of different workshops about what students should do, like not leaving your residence hall door open while you go do something else. So by no means are we claiming to be in a perfect location or that the university is perfect, but there are a lot of things to make sure that students have safe experiences and that they are aware of the things that they need to do, their part in the responsibility of that. I'm going to let Bryce talk for a minute, and I'm going to pull up the website so I can share that with you all in just a second.
Just to echo what Kendra said, as an urban campus, we struggle with the same factors that any urban campus would experience, but the university does definitely go above and beyond, promoting a safe environment and ensuring that those students feel and are safe while they're on and off campus as well. Some of the ways that I've experienced this is, like Kendra said, there is the police presence on campus. And in fact, it's fairly easy to call an officer. We have these blue help phones all across campus. They're not only encouraged for emergencies, but I know my first week of classes, I couldn't find my one class. And I remembered at orientation, they told us, hey, push the blue help phone, even if you need directions or anything like that. So those are definitely some things that I've taken advantage of. But all in all, it's really about being a smart student, Are you going out after dark alone with headphones in, stuck your face down in your phone? No, it's just about being alert, being aware, and being smart. And you'll definitely be fine. I've never had an issue with it. But it's just, being aware of your surroundings and making definitely smart choices. The university supports you through that.
Thanks, Bryce. So a couple of other things as far as specific tangible resources that might make you feel more comfortable, in addition to knowing that we have the police department and the blue light system, which Bryce talked about, which is fabulous. There's Night Ride, which will take you within 1.5 miles of campus. So let's say you are at a restaurant, you and your friends meet up, and then instead of walking back after dark, you call Night Ride, you wait a few minutes, they will take you back. It is through the university, well-marked van so that you know where you're going, what you're getting into, that type of thing. There is the Bearcat Guardian app, which allows you to have communication between the police department and the campus community. There are different safety notifications, so you can sign up for emergency text messaging. Quite honestly, those tend to be like weather related in most times. We're in the Midwest, so occasionally you will get a tornado warning, you will get a snowstorm warning. Sometimes those things happen within a few weeks of each other because, hey, Midwest. but that keeps you going. But it'll also talk about the things that are not on campus but are in the greater area. So if there are disturbances that are off campus in areas that are close to or areas where students typically frequent, you may get an alert about that, but they'll always tell you when if what's going on as much as possible to stay in place, and then when it's clear and safe to go out in public again. There are important phone numbers, different opportunities for campus. I'm going to share my screen again. So if you go to uc.edu, that's our main website. You can always search things that you were interested in learning a little bit more about. If you put in campus safety or public safety, what you will find is our public safety page. This has a wealth of information. You can see some of our public safety team on the picture in our stadium. They have an overview of some of the services, different notifications, the Bearcat Guardian app that I mentioned. You also will see different safety services on campus. Crime prevention is one of them, Bearcat Guardian app, Night Ride. So those things we talked about, it'll give you contact information for them. But then something, if you want to look at the information for any college or university that you're interested in, every school should have a Clery Act notification or part of their webpage. And this is to provide information about what's going on campus to families so that you know what's going on. So in the mid 80s, there was a student at Lehigh who unfortunately was sexually assaulted and murdered, and had information been shared, it seems that, you know, it could have definitely either been prevented or people would have had an awareness of what was going on in the area. There were no standardized requirements at that time to share that information. So this will give you a listing of what needs to be reported and then who manages it on our campus. So hopefully that answered your question there. As far as other questions, will extracurriculars have an effect on being accepted? Yes and no, in that we are looking for well-rounded students. Again, what we talked about on that holistic review, what are your involvements? And that doesn't necessarily just have to be extracurricular activities as far as school organizations. It could be a job, it could be volunteering, it might be familial responsibilities. We don't narrow it down just to one type of activity. We know that people have a variety of interests, and then we also know that our students have a variety of responsibilities, and that may look a little bit different. So what we're looking for is whatever you're involved in, again, student organizations, athletics, volunteering in your community, a job, research. Share with us your story, what you're doing. The really important thing to know is if you tell us, we can use it when reviewing your application. If you don't tell us, we don't know, and we can't factor that into your review process. The other thing is, we know there are students who are really interested in a particular academic area and they've done a lot of outside of the classroom experiences related to that, and that's great. And then we know we have students who are really passionate about an academic area, but they're passionate about a lot of other things as well. And so we don't want to limit it to, oh, if you're an engineering student, you need to do these types of activities. Who are we to tell you should only have a limited amount of passions? What we really want to know is, what are you interested in? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? So then there was a question. So people graduating high school in 2022 are test optional. So yes, students have the opportunity to apply test optional for students who are graduating in the fall, or sorry, who are graduating spring. Let me start over. Students who will be entering the University of Cincinnati for fall 2021 and fall 2022 have the option to apply test optional. Again, there are those programs that require a test score, and I am going to share my screen again. We have our admissions page. If you go to admissions.uc.edu, it's a wonderful resource. If you go to information for, the first tab is high school students, and then you'll see also information for other populations like transfer students, international students, as you go through the admission pipeline. If you're offered admission, there's information for high school counselors, high achieving students, multicultural students, you name it. So this page allows you to get everything you need in one spot. It allows you to meet your counselor. It talks about offering virtual visits. Highly encourage you to take advantage of those. The application process using the Common App, the timeline, different question and answer opportunities, what student experiences are like on campus, choosing a major, how to connect with us, and then there's some other unique circumstances. So I highly recommend that you visit the high school information page, but then also on this page, if you hover over apply, you will see, hang on a second. Oh, I think the page got updated and I didn't get the memo. Let me find the test optional portion for you all. The great thing is, like I said, if you just go to the page and search, you can find a lot of great information. So test optional, you'll see the FAQ here. So why we're going this route, how we'll evaluate students. You should see some familiar information here, the holistic review process I described, which programs are requiring a test score, merit-based scholarship consideration, and yes, students will be considered for scholarships if they are test optional, how to change all that information. But yes, for the fall of 2021 and 2022, students will have the ability to apply test optional. Have a question, are pets allowed in dorm rooms? Bryce, you want to talk about pets on campus, and then I can pull up the page that'll talk about it specifically.
Right. So our housing department does not allow pets in the residence halls. You are allowed to have up to a 10-gallon fish tank in your room. I had a betta fish. He's pretty cool. Trained him to jump through a hoop and like follow my finger. It was very impressive. But other than that, you can't have a pet in your residence hall. A lot of people that live off campus will have dogs that they walk through campus literally all the time. That's always great to kind of, you know, I miss my dog at home, but being able to see just other dogs and hang out and play with them on campus is great.
Nice. So again, if you're going to the housing page, it'll talk to you about what is and isn't allowed in a residence hall room, which is going to be really helpful information. There may be some students who say, but I have an emotional support animal. That's going to be a different process through our Office of Accessibility Resources. So the standard answer is no, that pets aren't allowed. Bryce gave you the regulations for the tank size, but by and large, no pets in the residence halls. And then if you move off campus, that would vary by your renter's contract. So next question is, what's the average class size and what was the profile for 2019? Bryce, do you want to talk about your classroom experience, and then I'll chime in with the profile for the last class?
Yeah, so 70% of our first year classes have 30 students in them or less. So my first semester, I took 16 credit hours. I took 16 credit hours. And of those classes, only one of those courses, I took 15. Only one of those courses, or 3 credit hours, one out of my 5 classes was in a lecture hall. All my other classes, that was General Chemistry 1, which is going to be one of your largest classes. But all my other classes, including, you know, my Calculus 2 class, my freshman English seminar, and whatever other courses I had, were all a smaller group of around 20 students with a professor and even a TA in a couple of those classes. In my bigger chemistry class, I had the professor who was doing the instructing, but, you know, to help support the larger 200 student class size, there was a group of 4 teaching assistants that were in the lecture each day, along with 2 people that were called SIs, or supplemental instructors. And just this group of 6 students were really just there to help support During the lectures, they would circle throughout the class, and if you had a question, you're more than welcome to raise your hand and ask the professor. But if you maybe wanted a more individualized answer, or didn't have the guts to raise your hand, you're more than welcome to pull aside a teaching assistant or one of those SIs to get that question answered. Another neat thing about the teaching assistants in that larger class size is you'll often have a 1 hour a week breakout class, or what are these called? Supplemental recitation. A recitation course instructed by one of the teaching assistants in a group of around 15 students. My recitation TA for general chemistry was really great. She came up with all different kinds of mnemonics that really helped us remember and help apply the material that we were learning in lecture, as well as go over things, prepare for exams. She really just helped us keep us set straight in a smaller group of students, and that was really great, even in that bigger class, to have that.
Thanks, Bryce. So as far as the profile for the students who started, excuse me, fall 2019, so for test scores, we talk about middle 50% ranges. So 25% of students had above or below the numbers that I will give to you. For the ACT, it was a 24 to 29. For the SAT, it was 1160 to 1360. GPA really does range. Usually when we're looking at GPAs, we look at unweighted as well as weighted. We know every school has something slightly different that they are going to provide. And so usually students were in the range of about 3.3 to about a 4.0. So hopefully that answered that question for average class size as well as the profile. If you need additional clarification, let me know. So next question is, what are some of the requirements for applications, volunteer hours, course credit? I'm going to need a little bit more clarification about what you're looking at specifically. As far as our application requirements, to have a complete application, you will need to submit the Common Application. We're Common App exclusive. You will need to submit the application fee, which is currently $50 for domestic students, $100 for international students. And then if you are, then you'll need an official high school transcript. You'll need to talk to your school counselor about how that is requested. Some people do it on Navient, some will just go into the office and ask. It really varies by school what their protocol is. So definitely go ahead and ask how they'll do that and what timeline they'll send that out in. That'll be the other important factor. So your official transcript, you'll need a letter of recommendation from a teacher, a counselor, a mentor, a supervisor, someone who knows you really well, can speak to your talents and abilities and share with us some information about why we should offer you admission. And that's going to provide a different context than the information you've already provided. And then again, ACT or SAT scores are optional, aside from the programs that are still requiring it for this upcoming cycle, which would be the University Honors Program, our early childhood education majors, our nursing students, and then the Connections Dual Admission Program. So those will require an official test score still, and that will have to come directly from the testing agency, so ACT or College Board. Outside of that, we don't have requirements for a specific number of volunteer hours, things like that. That is really, again, up to the students and what they are interested in, what their responsibilities are. We have some students who have a lot of flexibility with their time, so they may have a variety of athletic and extracurricular involvements. And there are some other students who have some different responsibilities. They may work part-time or full-time and don't have then the additional time to be part of those school activities, or they may have some familial duties where they're getting younger students or siblings off the bus. Maybe they're helping with an elderly grandparent or someone who's sick, and so they're managing those things. So we don't distill it down to you need to do these type of things. We want to know what students are doing with their time. As far as I think your question about what do you need, we do ask students, we're looking for the minimums, if you will, and that will vary by state. So we're going to look at what state you come from, what are the graduation requirements, but meeting graduation requirements would be one of those thresholds. So for Ohio, it's 4 units of English, math, 3 units of social studies and science, and then 5 elective. It really varies by state. Some states say 4 math, some say 3. Ohio has changed it a few times. So we're looking at graduation requirements as a threshold, also within context of what state are you from and what are their requirements. And then we're looking at having that holistic review, looking at your overall GPA, your rigor of curriculum, your grade trend. And that's within context of what's available to you at your school. We're not going to compare you to a school down the street because you don't have those opportunities. I had a question about how would the personal statement differ if you were undecided? So that's a really great question. When students are undecided, sometimes we see multiple things. They might be undecided within a particular area, meaning they know they have an interest in business, but they haven't narrowed down a particular major. Or students who are totally undecided and really trying to figure it out. And really, what we're looking for you to talk through is your thought process. So if you're totally undecided, are there things you are deciding between? If not, you know, how do you anticipate exploring different opportunities available to you? Have you done any of that exploration on your own already? I realize that it doesn't translate exactly to I picked this major because I'm interested in. It's really I'm not sure, but tell us a little bit about where you are in your process of discovering what will be right for you. And that'll be different for everyone. Hopefully that answers that question for you. And I think we have about, looking at my timer, we have a few minutes left, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I want to make sure that you all have a chance to ask any questions that you have of me as well as of Bryce, because it's really important for us to make sure that you have opportunities to connect with our current students, even though it's not in the way anyone would have anticipated a year ago for us planning our recruitment opportunities and our engagement connecting with prospective students and families. But we want to make sure that we have an opportunity to get that information in front of you. So any other questions? While I'm waiting for a few questions to pop up, I am going to share my screen one last time and talk about the Bearcats Challenge. You can see this on our website. If you search for that, you can find it. But again, under that page that talks about information for high school students, there's a link to it. This is one of our ways to change what we would have typically done with an open house, which would have been a day-long event, and have a series of events for you to interact with other prospective students, our current students like Bryce, faculty and staff. And so there are a variety of topics. There are instructions on how you play, the different event session categories. Also know that as you go through this, I don't know if you can see this over here, prize information. So we have some great giveaways for you. Above that, you'll see the schedule and the registration opportunities. So if you're wondering about what major to pick or what's available, Major Decisions can talk to you about that. We have a great application basics series. I know a lot of students are concerned about completing their application in the right way, submitting that information. So there's an essay writing workshop. There's a session on how UC reads your application, the admissions timeline, advice from the admitted, so our current student panel, and then an application workshop that goes over the mechanics of the Common App and how you will see things, how it shows up to us, and how you, oh, sorry about that. That was my timer, and how you'll want to fill that information. And so you can see that for all those different things. Living on campus, your next home, how to transition to college life, tons of great opportunities there. So take a little bit of time, go around the admissions website, admissions.uc.edu, and it'll allow you to really navigate and get a lot of resources. And of course, connect with your admissions counselor. While we may not be in the office yet, we are still here for you to help you navigate this process, even if it's on Zoom and you get to be in our living rooms or in our dining room tables with us. I do see a question. How does early admissions work? Are you talking about our early action deadline or a different program? If you're talking about early action, that's our admissions deadline to make sure we are reviewing students who are interested for scholarships, the honors programs, and that type of thing. If you're looking at any of the early admissions or early assurance programs for undergraduate students into a professional program, that's going to vary by program. And so if your question is about that, let me know. I can get you some additional information and connect you to folks about those opportunities, because those will all be slightly different as far as their structure. But for early action, it's non-binding. If you get admissions decisions to multiple institutions, you have the opportunity to make that decision and figure out what's going to be the best fit for you. Just a reminder that May 1 is the national notification date or the confirmation deadline for you to decide where you're going to go and let that school know. I don't see any other questions. If you think of anything else, please send us an email, admissions@uc.edu. You can always go to our admissions page and connect with any one of our folks. You can connect with us via social media. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. Huge thanks to Bryce for being our current Bearcat on this channel today. We will have another opportunity in November, but again, we are here for you every day in some capacity through the Office of Admissions. So go to admissions.uc.edu. Thanks everyone, have a good day.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much, Bryce and Kendra. That was awesome. Thanks for helping us to learn more about a Bearcat experience. And the Ohio Association of College Admission Counselors would like to thank each of you for attending. Please know there's a very quick survey of 4 questions. Please answer those questions to help us help you better. And know that you can sign up for more sessions. And if for any reason you don't remember everything that Kendra and Bryce shared with you today, you certainly can go to www.oacac.org for more information. Thank you so much for coming to join us today.